Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Om, salutations to Bhagavan Ramakrishna. Narendra, Nath, Mitra, or the younger Naren, because Swamiji was called the elder Naren. They both had the same name, Narendra Nath. So Sri Ramakrishna used to call him the younger one, Chotan. And the other was simply Naren. So he was a student of the Vidyasagar school, and as we know, M used to see his students, those with spiritual potential, and he used to invite them to the master. We hardly know anything about him. It's very strange. Because later on he became an attorney. There must be some records. Did go to school. That's a field where some researchers can go and dig. But he lived in Calcutta, and as far as we know, that his father wasn't too happy about him associating with Sri Ramakrishna. So he first visited Sri Ramakrishna in March 1885. And Sri Ramakrishna was sitting down in his room on his small couch, and he was in a playful mood. He was imitating the gestures, mimicking the gestures of a female singer called a kirtani, that is, those who sang devotional songs. And so he was mimicking this singer, and everybody were kind of rolling in laughter. Sri Ramakrishna was telling him, saying, see, don't tell he's telling the students, don't tell this to your father, okay? So he's saying, you see, he's an Englishman. He will lose a little respect for me. I'm so frivolous. And in the next moment, he goes into deep samadhi. So he was looking at this younger Naren, and he goes into samadhi. Now, after a while, his mind comes down. And when he was seated in samadhi, he was like in the well-known picture of Sri Ramakrishna in samadhi, with the hands folded in his lap. So the master comes out of this and says, he tells this younger Naren, we'll call him Naren now for short, I have been eager to see you. You will succeed. Come here once in a while. So he said, which do you prefer, jnana or bhakti? So this young boy says, pure bhakti. And then Sri Ramakrishna, how can you love somebody unless you don't know them? And then he turns to M, their teacher, saying, the very fact that he is asking for this pure bhakti, it is a form of prema bhakti, one of the highest forms of devotion. And the other type of devotion is tinged with knowledge. So, jnana bhakti, that is, you love somebody, you got to know him, and the more you know, the more you love, and this is what both grow. That is, knowledge and devotion grow. So, and then he was pleased, Sri Ramakrishna was pleased, and he's saying, take your shirt off, let me see. Then he says, fairly broad chest, you will succeed. Come here now and then. Now, Sri Ramakrishna used to use this kind of knowledge. That was an ancient Samudrika Vidya. It's called Samudrika Vidya. It's very, that there's no text. There was a text, but it's lost. We don't know where it's. But so he used to have an insight into seeing people's features and the bodily, you can say, structure also. So much for this. Then it was evening. Sri Ramakrishna, then he told Naren, this younger Naren, gave him some instructions about meditation, etc. And then he said, the boy saluted the master and he left. This was his first meeting. Now, Sri Ramakrishna had mentioned that he becomes absorbed in the formless God. His meditation in the formless God. In the presence of Sri Ramakrishna, what used to happen is, now this is a kind of a well-known, you can say, method which saints use. Whenever these ear-marked devotees used to come, he used to scrutinize them externally and then now and then touch them or write something on their tongue or something like that. Why? What he used to do is, he used to, in that touch, he used to push the mind of that particular devotee deep within, where it is detached from the senses and the body. And depending on the devotee, some people had visions of the luminous deities, their chosen ideals, or some went into samadhi, some had a foretaste of even nirvikalpa samadhi. Now this is why Sri Ramakrishna used to do this. And he used to get an insight into, again, the nature of this devotee. If you touch somebody and then that person is just same, nothing is going to happen, then Sri Ramakrishna used to not bother too much about it. And well, does Sri Ramakrishna not do now? Yeah, yes. That is another thing that we need to understand. When you go in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna, but Sri Ramakrishna is just a picture. Yeah, for you it's a picture. For many it's not a picture, it's a living presence. Or you go to a temple, or you go to a church, or a mosque, or a synagogue, anywhere. When you go there, the mind circles back inwards. And if it is doing so, that means you must understand that that particular deity, in whichever sacred place you go, is an awakened deity. That's the reason why I tell people, you come and just look at Sri Ramakrishna. He'll do the trick. If you want easy meditation, stand in front of him or sit in front of him. So when he touched this Naren, he got into this deep meditation and into the formless aspect of God. Now, does God have formlessness? Yes. God is formless. And that same God also takes forms. Not one form. Innumerable forms. This is one thing we must understand, that Sri Ramakrishna used to say, God is with form, He is without form, and He is beyond both formlessness and forms. So, what is the real nature of God? Yes, the people have been disputing about this. So, there is a stage even beyond formlessness, that there is something called pure existence. Sri Ramakrishna also was careful in these young boys when they used to come and interact with him. Maybe they might not, their coming year might not be appreciated at home. So he used to caution M also about this. He tells, Sri Ramakrishna tells M, this boy, he is very pure and does not know what carnal pleasure is. M, he is a large receptacle. Now, what do you mean by large receptacle? Sri Ramakrishna, in a different place, he explains it. See, when an elephant gets into a small pond, you know what happens? There's a big tumult and uproar and there's great splashing. That same elephant gets into a big lake, there's hardly a ripple. So a large receptacle is this, huge. Spiritual emotions will not create a kind of big furor or confusion or something like that. There will be hardly any external manifestation. And he says he's very pure. And so what happens is, Sri Ramakrishna also says that he remembers spiritual things after hearing them only once. It speaks also of something called a spiritual intelligence. It's called medha. It's a spiritual, you can say, intelligence through which you can understand scriptures, you can get an insight into religion and spirituality very easily. So this is actually what Sri Ramakrishna is saying, and this is this younger Naren had it. So he could gauge things. As I said, Sri Ramakrishna, in his presence, the devotees used to experience their mind plunging inwards. And when the mind used to plunge inwards, you know, the deep underlying spiritual impressions, they used to surface. That's why Sri Ramakrishna could read them. At the same time, the devotee could experience those spiritual, you can say, emotions and visions and light, etc., go to samadhi. So it was not just pushing the mind in, pulling the spiritual impressions out. These impressions are there in everybody. It's only they have been kind of smothered by everything that's coming in. So he says, when he saw this Naren laugh, he's saying, look at him. Look how naive he looks when he laughs. Simple. As if he knew nothing. This is one thing. When you laugh, you can understand a person's real nature. That person, whether it's like a smile or a laughter is kind of surface or feigned, or it's something that bubbles up from within. So that is real, authentic. So he says, he never thinks of these three things: land, wife, and money. At that young age, this boy was like this. He's saying this cannot be, God realization cannot be possible, is not possible until unless a mind is free from these three things. One time at another devotee's house called Devendra Mazumdar, whose life we have gone through, he says, nobody can recognize an incarnation of God. Yeah. Say, it's like, taking a diamond and going to a eggplant vendor. And Sri Ramakrishna says, saying that eggplant is saying, I can give only 9 seers, that is a measure of eggplants in exchange, and not one more. He has got that So he goes to a cloth merchant and same, saying people understand the value of things according to what they deal in. So they will not be able to recognize that this is a diamond and it's precious. Now, Sri Ramakrishna is not speaking about diamonds and eggplants and cloth, etc. The illustration is very few people can understand an incarnation. And when Sri Ramakrishna gave this illustration, immediately Naren, this, he understood it. Because like I said, he had that spiritual intelligence. And he began laughing and laughing, and Sri Ramakrishna says, look, see what a subtle mind he has. This is what it is. Otherwise, you have to keep on hammering over and over again. People ask me, should we do this repetition of God's name? I say, yeah, you got to do that. Over and over, yes, over. But if you have this kind of a subtle mind, which has that spiritual, you can say, intelligence, you don't have to do much. You just 1 or 2 times and you got it. So he's saying, amazing, it falls to the lot of very few. And this is what he says. Now, he was a student and growing up, and he loved Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna loved him. And yet, he was kind of hesitant to tell his folks at home about this. Because his father, as I said, he wasn't too appreciative of Sri Ramakrishna. So he did go, he wanted to go to his place also. So on April 12, 1885, Sri Ramakrishna had gone to Balram Bose's house, which is in the neighborhood. So Sri Ramakrishna was saying, oh mother, how deep is thy love for men. Mindful of it, I weep for joy. And listening to the song, this Naren went into deep meditation. And he became still as a log. Sri Ramakrishna said, look at him. He is totally unaware of the outer world. And so he could understand the implication of that meaning of that of the song, and he goes into samadhi, deep samadhi. When he was leaving, Ramakrishna, show great devotion to your parents. Keep everything at home all right. But don't obey them if they stand in your way to God. You must gird your loins with great determination. We will see later, he never took this advice in toto. However, that comes later. So in May, he had, in the next month, in the same year, 1885, Sri Ramakrishna had gone for a festival in the neighborhood. It's called Panihati. They still have that festival, I believe. And it's a Vaishnava festival, and Sri Ramakrishna had gone with his entourage. There were 25 devotees, and they had a great time. Great time? What do you mean great time? Yeah, singing and dancing in God's name. And so when it was over, they returned. They had to go by a country boat, came back, more like a canoe, large canoe. So Swami Shardananda, he had forgotten to wear his shoes. His shoes were in near Sri Ramakrishna's room, and he had already gone to the boat that will take them to Calcutta. So he returned saying, oh, you forgot your shoes. And it would have spoiled all your fun, today's fun. Then he says, the master mentioned the names of those devotees who had spiritual experiences at the festival. and praised this younger Naren. That dark complexioned boy has been visiting this place for a short time only, but already he is having ecstasies. The other day his ecstasy was hard to stop. He had no outer consciousness of his surroundings for more than an hour. He says that nowadays his mind merges into the formless God. This is astounding. I mean, there are some devotees who took a few months or a few years to get into this kind of state. Of course, through Sri Ramakrishna's grace. But here, in a short time, he was showing signs of great spirituality. So he told Swami Sharadananda, you go to his house and interact with him now and then. So Swami Sharadananda said, I like the older Naren, the big Naren. That's Swami Vivekananda. So Sri Ramakrishna says, you brat, you'll be one-sided. Go and talk to him. So he did go and talk to the younger Naren. And in the course of the conversation, this younger Naren said something, and Swami Sharadananda gets an insight into his own spiritual problem, and that solved a complicated kind of knot in his life. So, another time, again in the same year, in July, so he says, this younger Naren, Sri Ramakrishna is remarking about him again at Balram Bose's house. How amazing! Even during his boyhood, on returning from school, he cried for God. Is it a small thing to cry for God? And he is very intelligent too. He's like a bamboo with a big hollow space inside here. All of his mind is fixed on me. So this implies, as I said, inborn spiritual, you can say, culture, which, as we know, it cannot be accomplished just in childhood or boyhood. It has taken him several years. So, whether it's the grace of God or whatever, but then to weep for God at this young age, and Sri Ramakrishna was like all praise for him. And Girish Ghosh was there, and he says, yeah, he had gone to another devotee's house called Navagopal Ghosh. And there was some kirtan, the religious congregational singing. And he entered the place, and he was searching for Sri Ramakrishna, and he was so oblivious of people around. He's saying, Girish says, he almost stepped on them. Sri Ramakrishna said, yeah, he has no fear of anybody threatening him or anything like that. This is also another quality of deep spirituality. A person becomes fearless. Fearless, not of external enemies, internal also. So disease, death, uncertainties, there's no fear, there's no hesitation at all. So he used to spend sometimes 3 days at Dakshineshwar. During one such meeting again in Balram Bose's house, Sri Ramakrishna then goads him. They say, what's the use of merely intuiting God exists? Now, the word intuition, it's not the normal word of intuition that can be used. This is an intimate experience that it's not there yet, but you have reached to a great extent, very close to it. That is what Sri Ramakrishna means by intuition. That is, that person's experiences has taken him to that threshold. So Sri Ramakrishna says, a mere vision of God is by no means everything. You have to bring him into your room and you have to talk to him. So having a vision of God is jnana. You invite God to your room inside and talk to him. That is vijnana, a special knowledge. And Sri Ramakrishna, he was, as I say, he was a vijnani. That is one who had special knowledge of God. That it was, I could go on and on, but let's stop here. So jnana, it stands on the outer coat, as it were. Vijnana is like getting it. So Sri Ramakrishna used to give example. Some have seen milk, some have heard about milk, some have seen milk, and some have drunk milk and have become strengthened by it. So merely seeing milk, what's the use of it? So you've got to drink milk. So that is what Sri Ramakrishna was egging him on, that you've got to plunge even deeper. So during that time, he asks the younger Naren, sir, do you have free will? So he's saying, well, try to find out who this I is. While you are searching for I, he comes out, that is God comes out. This is something that we ask to know, find out what God is, who are you, etc. And there's a huge discussion. What is the nature of this I? What's the nature of God, etc. When you find that your I exists in God's I, not this I, the I, that is realization. When this I, individual I, is merged in the cosmic I, the I of God. That is realization. It's not simply seeing things like, okay, I seen a vision, I seen light, I heard some sound, this and that. And realization is this, where you are completely, and God dwells in you as the old, in the place of the old I. So Sri Ramakrishna says, God alone is the doer. And then he explains, do your duties in the world as if you are the doer, but knowing all the time that God alone is the doer and you are the instrument. This is what happens. So this is the preparation, the sadhana, the means. Keep on doing, yeah. You keep on doing with the sense of, yeah, I have to do, because otherwise, without the I, you must understand, your body, your senses, and your mind will not function. Yes. So in the highest states of spiritual absorption, that's why when there is no I, the body and the senses and the mind and everything appear dead. And then he says, when you're working, that implies, yeah, you have the feeling of I, the identity. Now you work. But know in your heart that God alone is the doer and you are the instrument. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, says, Nimitta matram bhava savya sajan. You just be an instrument. That's all. I have done everything beforehand. Mahe veti nihita. I have already slain all these things, all these enemies. You just be an instrument now. So what is the nature of this I? Sri Ramakrishna says it's a limiting adjuncts that are associated with this I. He's saying, I am a jnani, I'm ignorant, I'm a scholar, I'm wealthy, I'm honorable, I'm the master, father, teacher. So the I gets associated with all other limiting adjuncts. So once you start dropping all these things, come down to the pure I, and then from the pure I, no, you'll merge that pure I into that. So Sri Ramakrishna says, so then there is no more sound. Nothing. Everything is peace, peace, peace. So people want peace? Yes, that's the way. Now, there's another incident. It happened in, in the same year, again in July. Sri Ramakrishna was going by, again, that country boat to Dakshineshwar from Calcutta. So there was a chariot festival, that is Jagannath Rath Yatra. So he had gone to attend it in Balram Bose's house, and he was returning. Sri Ramakrishna stayed there for 3 days in Balram's house. So he was in the same boat. There was Gopal Ma, Yogin, that is Yogananda, and the younger Naren. Or it could mean even Yogin Ma. As we have seen, the life of Gopal Ma, Gopalir Ma, Gopal, she used to have the continuous vision of Krishna. Yogin Ma was of spiritual colossus, and this younger Naren also was there. He was of that kind of category. So they came to Dakshineshwar, and Sri Ramakrishna goes to the Kali temple, and standing in front of the temple in that concert hall, he began singing. And as he was singing, he goes into samadhi. So he stood up. As he was singing, he stood up and he goes into. So his body was slightly bent, thinking that he might topple over. Naren, he tried to support him. And as he touched Sri Ramakrishna kind of cried out in pain. And this Naren gets a kind of shock. So Sri Ramakrishna's nephew Ramlal was in the temple. He hears Sri Ramakrishna cry out in pain. He comes. And then he holds Sri Ramakrishna, and then when Sri Ramakrishna is still in that God-intoxicated mood, he is crawling on all fours like a little child and talking to the Divine Mother. Shall I fall, oh Mother? No, I won't fall. It's okay. And by the time he came to his room, there's a vast courtyard. He crossed all that and came. Swami Sharadananda then discusses this. Why did suddenly he had such a high opinion of this young Naren, and when Sri Ramakrishna's ordinary consciousness was there, Sri Ramakrishna's ordinary consciousness was not like our ordinary. I said his mind used not come down from the level of the throat. That's the Vishuddha Chakra. He used to let the younger Naren massage his feet. He should touch him, this, that. Why suddenly? Then, in the puja, you can say the rules are, some of the rules are very extensive and elaborate, and on the exact nature of the worship. And we also have something like, there is one thing that they speak about the worshipper, the puja, that the worshipper should not have any kind of wound or cut or any kind of deformity when that person if he worships that deity with some form of deformity, that person is not whole. So they say that, and I've seen these worshippers, pujaris, even in Belur Math, even when they used to get a small nick while shaving, that day, for a few days, they are not going to do the worship. Somebody else comes and does that for them. So these are some of the, you can say, strictures in this puja vidhi, that is rules of puja. Why? So, I also used to wonder, what does it matter? And after reading this, then I came to know. You see, when he touched Sri Ramakrishna, for a few days, he had a kind of a small tumor on his left temple. It was growing, and the doctors had lanced it, and they had put some medications to reduce the pain. So he was with injury. And Sri Ramakrishna, and like he's the deity, you can't do puja, you cannot touch the deity. So then, these are kind of inexplicable on the ordinary plane of it. Rationally, you can say, there's nothing wrong in this. But these are not just on the ordinary plane of rationality. These are very mystical things. So, this younger Naren, then he understood, and he was very sharp. He says, he then never touched Sri Ramakrishna till his wound had healed. So there. That was another kind of. And you see, these interactions give us an insight into Sri Ramakrishna's nature itself. There is something called you can say, an avatar is the deity himself. Appears as a human being, but just appearance. So then, he used to be invited to all the various festivals. That is, the devotees used to invite Sri Ramakrishna, and they used to also invite this younger Naren, because he was very witty and he used to make everybody laugh. And in one place he says, Golap Ma says, I invited him because otherwise who will make all of us laugh? And Sri Ramakrishna also used to delight in his company, because wit means that person is intelligent. That's one of the signs of intelligence. So he used to, there was a few incidents there, and there were some boys who were trying to peep through the windows to see Sri Ramakrishna, and he was shooing them away. And then Sri Ramakrishna, no, let them, don't bother about that. Let them see. Because Sri Ramakrishna, just looking at Sri Ramakrishna itself is not only a benediction, but it's a great, you can say, merit. So Sri Ramakrishna says, observing his wit and guilelessness, the master, the younger Naren gets kumbhaka without any effort. So we have to make an effort. We have to breathe in and breathe out, and then breathe in and hold a breath. Kumbhaka is to hold a breath in, the life force, or to hold it outside. There are two types of kumbhaka. That's in the pranayama. Puraka, inhalation, and kumbhaka, retention, and rechaka, exhalation. So these are. So sometimes it is done reverse. So exhalation, then holding it outside, and inhalation. There are various ways, like it starts with 5 seconds, 20 seconds, 15, 25. The longest is 32, one of the longest. The longest, I think it's 64 seconds. So that's so much of pranayama. So he didn't have to go through all these kind of various exercises. He used to get kumbhaka, the retention of breath, immediately, automatically. When does it happen? When you get into very deep meditation, your breath stops. It depends on the degree of your, you can say, meditation. The deeper you go in, the less breath you have. And then when it goes to one point, it stops. Does the body, of course the body can remain alive. So he said, and then he says, and samadhi too. So he gets kumbhaka and gets samadhi too, very easily. So sometimes he stays in an ecstatic mood for 2.5 hours, sometimes even more. How wonderful. So look at this. Some people get just a few seconds. There's it. Some get a few minutes. You get 2.5 hours and even more. At one time, it was in Sri Ramakrishna had been brought to Calcutta because he had a throat cancer, and the younger Naren also used to go out there to serve him. So during a Kali Puja there, the younger Naren also offered his flowers to Sri Ramakrishna on that day, because there was no deity there of the, you can say, statue of Kali. He himself he had become, as it were, Kali. So during one such session, saying the singing, etc. over, the younger Naren was absorbed in meditation. He sat like a stump, pointing him to Sri Ramakrishna, pointing him to Sri Ramakrishna's doctor, Mahendralal Sarkar. A very pure soul, unstained by the slightest touch of worldliness. So it is like, what worldliness? Yeah, you're living in the world, but there's no worldliness. Sri Ramakrishna gives an example. Yeah, it's like the boat should be in the water. The water should not be in the boat. So that's the idea. Worldliness and non-worldliness. And here again he says that that at one time the younger Naren promised the master that he would show him an instrument that demonstrated the nature of electricity. Now, so he bought it. Now, demonstrated the nature of electricity. Probably bought a kind of a magnetic coil or something like that to show Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was very curious about all these things. So, yeah. And again, he keeps on saying, he has control, all his passion is unaffected by worldliness. So, this is now the state of his body and mind. However, as you say, things don't pan out for many people the way it is supposed to pan out. His parents prevailed over him to get married. And then Sri Ramakrishna says he can be a great yogi if he doesn't marry. But then he got married. And then nothing wrong with this marriage. You know, the author here, he has looked at it from the monastic standpoint, as if everything is lost. Nothing is lost. So he was kind of married and this, and then, as I said, he finished his studies. He became an attorney, and he was very successful. He had to struggle out. But the spiritual treasures that he had, all the experiences, they don't go. And that's the reason why these kind of people, for them to put their whole heart and soul into work and ambition and all, is just impossible. They somehow have to kind of live this life. And it's not that he kind of completely detached himself. So when Swami Vivekananda started the Ramakrishna order, the Ramakrishna mission, so he became the secretary of this. He also helped Nivedita and all these things when she had come to India and Calcutta. So ordinarily, it is a mystery why such a soul at this height couldn't progress even more. And they say, why progress even more? This is progress enough. That person has gone to that level where many spiritual aspirants or many high spiritual aspirants would like to be there. But Sri Ramakrishna was, he would not have any halfway houses for his devotees and disciples. He wanted to get the full thing. Unfortunately, we do not know anything. Like there is hardly any mention of his birth and the rest of the parentage. And we know now he went to that particular school called Vidyasagar School, and he later became an attorney. But there's absolutely kind of no record at all. But we can assume that at the time when the body is about to fall or towards the very end, all these spiritual experiences, they come out. If they did come out in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna, then they will come out whenever there is a time for them to come out, like when you're leaving the body. So Sri Ramakrishna's divine touch played a great role in his life. He showed that a person can have all these high spiritual experiences and yet live as a householder and work and operate like normal people. Since he had a very pure and subtle mind, and he had the spiritual intelligence, and he was bereft of all this worldliness, we can assume that that these things were retained, because these things do not go. They might be tarnished for a bit, but they do not go. They continue, and that is how we have no idea about where and how he passed. So the last we hear about him is in 1897, when Swami Vivekananda had returned from the West and Nivedita and all. So he never lived too long after that. Okay. So this is a great householder who was a great yogi, or a great yogi who was a great householder. And that has earmarked this life for us, the younger Naren, because he gave us an insight into how a person can become transformed by the touch of Sri Ramakrishna, as well as also to be living in the... Sri Ramakrishna gives an example of, like, there's milk in the... There's butter in the milk, but you'll have to churn it. And when you churn it, the butter then floats up. It's lighter then. So when you have churned your mind through all these spiritual experiences, that butter comes and floats up. So it does not again melt and go back inside. So this was his mind. This was his life. Bereft of all kind of... because we don't want to speculate what happened, why did he happen, why did he disassociate himself from all this thing. He never did that. Only we don't have adequate information. So we stop here. So this is the life of the younger Naren. Sunday, we will not have a usual Sunday talk here. We have an annual general meeting. We are calling all our members to come and attend it at Tapovan Retreat, 1 to 4. And also, there will be a small talk there after the meeting. No questions here? Yeah.
You mentioned Ramakrishna kind of pushing in, you go inward, and then Ramakrishna would see like spiritual impressions. Could you talk more about that? Like, what an example of like what a spiritual impression would be?
Okay, the question is, Sri Ramakrishna, by his touch, is to make that mind plunge inside. And then the devotee or the disciple used to, his mind used to detach from the body and the senses, plunge inside. And then that would make the spiritual impression surface. So they used to get a vision of their deity, their chosen deity, or light, or form, or whatever, all these things. So from where do these spiritual impressions lie? Well, he had accumulated it. Now, when he was a young boy, he must have done it in his previous lives. We can also, at the same time, when these spiritual impressions are awakening, the mind has gone inside spiritual impressions awakening. In the presence of Sri Ramakrishna, even a little become luminous. They become very dominant. And what are the spiritual impressions? Oh, your prayers, your japa and dhyana and all, these are spiritual impressions. These, nothing else. So, like I said, these spiritual impressions are smothered by hundreds of things. So when the mind is still, the waves are still, you can see the bottom there. And you'll see those impressions. And they surface. In most cases, at least according to my understanding, that these spiritual impressions, they start surfacing. And it is the light of that touch that illuminates them. Even if they are, like I said, even if they are not much in quantity, they become luminous, they expand. So they keep on expanding and they emerge out as spiritual experiences.
And are they the same as or similar to like positive samskaras?
No. Positive samskaras in the sense of like I've done good or I've said something good. No, those are not. These spiritual impressions are, samskaras are, that yearning to see God, I've been taking his name, doing japa and all. These are the things that come up. So those spiritual impressions come to fruition, as it were. Like they were supposed to take maybe 30 or 40 or 50 years, whatever, keeping on laying them layer after layer after layer of spiritual impressions. And then these things just come out and they immediately become kind of tangible in the form of the. Suppose you are meditating on Kali. So you've been meditating and meditating and all those impressions are there. And these will come out, become luminous, expanded, and you will see the vision of Kali. That's how. That's the reason why they say you got to keep on doing it over and over and over. Practice. Just practice. Okay. We can stop here. The next household disciple will be Akshay Kumar Sen. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.